This is Michter's first release of its Bomberger's PFG Kentucky Straight Bourbon, finished in precision fine grain oak barrels, a first in their Legacy series. Now this release continues Michter's efforts to further experiment with Bombergers by doing something different. PFG stands for precision fine grain, but in this case, French fine grain oak barrels. We will also take a bit of a deep dive into French oak, the PFG process, and find out if this is good, great, or just a gimmick. Stay tuned, come right back. It's the Mash and Drum. What's up, folks? I'm Jason C from the Mash and Drum, and welcome back to the show. Like, subscribe, and help me keep climbing to 100,000 subscribers here in 2025. We're right about at 96, so about 4,000 more subscribers left till we hit the big milestone, so getting excited. Okay, so let's talk about how Bomberger's PFG is made and what PFG actually is. First, Michter's ages Kentucky Straight Bourbon in a new toasted and charred oak American barrel like they usually do. Now, for those of you that don't remember, Michter's actually goes into the barrel at 103 proof, which is one of the lowest proof points, one of the lowest entry proofs in the industry. Most distillers will go in at around 125. They'll hit that maximum to go into the barrel, or minimum, however which way you look at it, at 125 proof in the barrel. So 103 compared to the rest of the industry is pretty low. So after full maturation, the Kentucky Straight Bourbon is removed from the first barrel and placed in a second, new, custom, proprietary toasted and charred French fine oak grain barrel of the most exacting specifications. Now, what makes it so exacting? These barrels are toasted at a defined temperature range for a precise period of time before they receive a select charring. Now, the whiskey is matured in these second barrels before being dumped into small batches that undergo their signature filtration prior to bottling at 100.2 proof. All right, so let's get this poured here. Now you guys can see the color on this is crazy. It's this like dark caramel color with this little hint of a ruby red in it. It's a beautiful color for a whiskey. So what else is wrapped up into this whole PFG concept? Now the finishing barrel is a blend of wood from 4 origins in France that I'm not going to attempt to pronounce.
Je m'appelle. Je m'appelle.
Me poupou.
The barrel's been constructed from wood that has been naturally air dried outdoors for a minimum of 40 months in France, near the Charente River, which, according to Michter's, has a unique seasoning environment influenced by humidity, microflora, climate, wind direction, and also elevation. After the seasoning is done, the staves are hand-selected to construct the Bomberger's PFG finishing barrels. Now, typically air drying takes about 24 to 36 months, so 40 months here is the minimum. Again, Michter is kind of going overboard with creating these precision fine grain barrels. All right, so a couple things here. I know most folks may roll their eyes at a lot of these descriptions and methodologies of what Michter's is creating here, but if anyone is going to do this and have a legit credibility on this whole process, it's going to be Michter's. All right, a little bit more about French oak. Now, one of the biggest differences between American and French oak lies in the grain structure of the wood. French oak typically has a tighter grain, which means it releases flavors and tannins more slowly and can also give the whiskey a really great mouthfeel. Now, flavor-wise, French oak brings cinnamon, cloves, sometimes almond, and a hint of chocolate usually, but those big spicy flavors are actually imparted in a little bit more of a subtle way using French oak. As I mentioned, this is bottled at 100.2 proof with a suggested retail price of $140 for a 750 milliliter bottle, and these are starting to roll out now. All right, can't wait to dive into this one. Here we go. So the nose on this is incredible. This should be a candle. I'll say this, it has a Michter's-y type of profile to it, so you get a lot of like those burnt toasted notes that I think you get in sometime like the Michter's 2023 single barrels, the Michter's 10 2023s, which are so popular a couple years ago. This is kind of bringing me back to that. It has like a very old school type of oak profile, but again, that oak coming through, I don't think you get the age, but I think that funkiness that it has from that French oak, I think is definitely coming through. Chocolate for sure. There's definitely, I wouldn't say milk chocolate, or I think this is more leans into a dark chocolate for me. Tons of vanilla here. There is a slight rich red fruit on the back end. I can't put my finger on exactly which one it is. There's almost like a tartness to it, but the nose on this is incredible. Now, I know this is non-age stated, but if you blinded me with this, I would think that this is, based on the color alone, I would think off of the nose that this is at least a 12 to 15-year-old whiskey. I mean, it really comes off that bold, that rich. The nose on this is incredible. All right, time to taste it. Here we go. Probably the first wow whiskey of 2025 right now. That thing's bananas. It's crazy. I don't mean it tastes like bananas. It is so friggin' good. So first thing, the front of the palate, the front, right when it hits the front of your tongue, even at only 100.2 proof, this thing has a lot going on. You feel all those flavors kind of reacting with the front of the palate. But again, that rich fruit character that hint of a rich fruit character, it's actually coming off like a little bit of a, I don't know, I want to say somewhere like a cross between like a cherry pomegranate type combination. Maybe it's like more of like a tart cherry. I really do feel like you kind of get that mid palate again with the chocolate, and then it's all baking spice on the back end. All baking spice. It is very cinnamon heavy. You get a little barrel char in the back end too. So here's the thing, by the time you hit the second sip, obviously at 100 proof, you would think it's gonna lose some of that boldness, but I do think it keeps it here. It still comes off as a very bold flavored whiskey to me. I do think that the French oak gives this a very, very velvety mouthfeel, which I absolutely love. I feel like I'm picking up a little bit of like a toasted almond in there as well. There's just some really beautiful flavors in here, and I do think that whatever they did with this precision fine grain, you know, whether you want to believe it's gimmicky or not, I mean, I've never seen a Bomberger's this dark, so whatever they're doing definitely had an influence on this whiskey, because this is hands down probably one of, if not the best Bombergers I've ever had. Besides dusty bottles, like I'm talking about like bottles from the 70s and the 60s and the 80s, which I think have way better mouthfeels and textures than the whiskeys we get today, for the most part. This is probably the closest thing I've had to those. It's kind of a throwback in that aspect. Now I know only being 100.2 proof, people are gonna be like, there's no way. I'm telling you, when you taste this, you kind of see what that texture really feels like. This bourbon has a nice back and forth between being both subtle and bold at the same time, where the flavors are very subtle, but there's a lot of flavors to be found. But as far as like the mouthfeel on it and the flavor overall, that part of it is bold because it just coats the tongue, gives you a lot of flavor. Again, the oak on the back end, that French oak. Now I'm a French oak nut, so this is right in my wheelhouse. And at the same time, it's kind of crushable, being only 100.2 proof. Now look, I've seen a lot of the comments. I know a lot of people, they want higher proof whiskeys for specific price points, and I get that part. But you gotta remember, again, Michter's is going into the barrel at 103 proof, really trying to draw out those wood sugars as it ages over time. I see why people want this to be a higher proof, but at the same time, this is so incredibly rich and bold for the proof point. It's actually kind of crazy when you taste this. Yeah, I just feel like it gets more and more velvety as you sip it. This is really impressive. Did not expect a lot from this, but given the proof point, I was probably just like you guys. Normally, Bomberger's is what, 107 proof, something like that. So the fact that this is 100.2, I was like, but then I got the bottle, and then I'm looking at the color. I'm like, okay, this could be interesting. And I feel like as soon as you guys knows this, you're gonna be like, whoa, what the hell is going on in this bottle? So really great release from Michter's. All right, this will be easy. Final breakdown time. All right, final breakdown for the Bomberger's PFG bourbon here in 2025. We're precision fine grain. Price for this one, $140. Obviously a price jump here, and I'm sure that has a lot to do with the process they did to create this bourbon. As far as resale market value, I've already seen these going for about $300 to $350. That's probably a little bit high here in the beginning, but we'll see where that goes. And as far as availability, these are gonna be limited. Value for this one is interesting. Do I see this as a $300 bourbon? I don't think so. I still think the proof point still plays a little bit of a role in where I see the value. However, this kind of it's in between, you know, an even value and a good value. I think it's a little bit more of a little bit higher than an even value. This is by far a flavor profile that I don't think you come across very often. And on top of that, I think there are bourbons in this price range, 130, 140, even 120, that don't come close to this. So I'm just gonna say it's a good value. As far as most I'd pay here, I love this bottle. I mean, I think 140, 150 bucks where it is at retail, you know, also being non-age stated, only being 100.2 proof is what keeps me at retail. Now, if I had a little bit more, you know, if I had a little bit more information as far as age, maybe the proof was up a little bit higher, maybe I would go a little bit higher on the price tag for this one. But I think where it's at and what you're getting for the money is great. As far as alternatives go, now there are some French oak bourbons out on the market that you can easily get. Maker's Mark 46, that is finished with French oak staves. That doesn't even come close to this. Some people may bring up the Buffalo Trace Charter Oak French oak release that drop, it seems, you know, every year, every 2 years, something like that. But I think this is even better than that. But honestly, I think the closest thing I've had to this, there was a barrel pick that I tried from Dark Arts. Dark Arts had a French oak variant that got somewhat close to this as far as boldness of flavor, but that also a higher proof, and I think that definitely helped. And lastly, is this a skip, a try before you buy, or a buy and back it up? I'm telling you guys, this might be, I think this is gonna be my first buy and back it up of 2025. I think it's that good. I love the mouthfeel of it. I just love the flavors of it. Again, but I love French oak. And this definitely has an oaky profile. So if you don't like a lot of oak in your whiskey, this might be one you want to try before you buy. If you're one of those folks that you can't drink anything under 120 proof, again, try it before you buy it. But for those of you out there that want to try something different, a little bit more nuanced, crazy great mouthfeel, subtle yet bold flavors at the same time, I mean, this ridiculous color, then I think this will be one that's gonna really impress you. But if your goal here is a super high proof whiskey, that's just not what you get with Michter's. But as far as an overall release, I love this release, and we'll see how this gets over time, but I'm definitely gonna be on the lookout to get another one of these. All right, guys, well, hope you enjoyed this review for the new Bomberger's PFG, Precision Fine Grain Kentucky Straight Bourbon. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that subscribe button below. Please hit the like button. And if you haven't yet, follow me on Instagram. Let me know down in the comments what you feel about this one. Did you think it was kind of gimmicky when you first heard about it? Or now after the review, are you generally interested in trying one of these? With all that said, it's not about the whiskey, it's the people you share it with. Cheers, and I'll see you next time right here on the Master and Drum. Cheers, folks. This is so good.